Yo, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Des Reacts back with another video. Today we're gonna react to the daring desert raids of Britain's SAS behind enemy lines. This is by War Stories. I feel like it should be pretty interesting. I'm assuming it's either Iraq, Afghanistan, or maybe it's World War II North Africa, who knows? So it's gonna be pretty interesting. I haven't dropped in a week. Let me tell you why. It's because my audio jack broke on my MacBook. I was like, oh no, what should I do? And then just today I just came up with the idea, hey, I should just use my gaming headset, which is a USB port. So here we are. Appreciate you guys for rocking with me. You guys showed a lot of love on the last couple of videos. This is gonna be a two-part series right here because it's a little documentary. Please smash that like button if you haven't, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and leave a comment on your thoughts and feelings on this and other content I should react to. I'm excited for this one. Let's get it.
This channel is part of the History Hit Network.
War Stories.
In North Africa, battle raged along the coastal strip where the Italians and Germans had their airfields.
Hold on. Okay, I was making sure I had it up loud enough.
Whoever won this piece of land would win control of the Suez Canal, the route to British colonies in the east.
Okay, so this is World War II. So as everybody knows, World War II, bloodiest battle ever in recorded history from, time history began recording, right? Like tons and tons of people died. So this is gonna be pretty crazy. We're gonna see how the SAS did their thing in North Africa.
The Italians and Germans had the British in Egypt on the back foot. It seemed the whole Middle East could be lost. But a new kind of soldier emerged from this crucible of warfare, a hand-picked elite whose very existence was a secret. Their mission, to go deep into enemy territory to raid and spy. But first they had to conquer the unknown, the Libyan desert, a waterless wilderness where not even flies could survive. Once they'd mastered this vast terrain, their exploits would become the stuff of legend.
Yeah, because if you think about it, right? London, the UK, wherever in the UK they're from, is way up north. So way different climate. It's pretty, like green, I'm assuming. And then you go to Africa, right? Where we all know Africa is third world countries, dirt everywhere, sand, crazy temperatures, crazy wildlife. Like, yeah, it's crazy, man. Oh.
The Libyan desert is one of the most arid regions on Earth. It has remained hostile and inviolate for centuries. Towering dunes, sandstorms, and temperatures of up to 120 degrees in the shade contribute to its fearsome reputation.
Whoa! 120 degrees in the shade, bro. So how hot do you guys think that makes it? Like, I'm assuming he's talking about Fahrenheit, obviously. I say in the sun, it won't be less than 140, probably. If it's 120 in the shade, right? That's tough. And think about it. You got all the metal on you, right? I don't think they have bulletproof vests and plates at this time in history, but their guns are hot, bullets are hot, their water canteen's hot, right? Everything's just hot, and it's probably awful. if you're out in the sun too long.
People cross it at them.
And Lord knows, you know, they didn't have color like this back in the day of the UK. So, I mean, I know there's probably getting sunburnt for show.
Peril. But in the 1930s, a group of gentlemen explorers from England dared to venture into the great sand sea on the Egypt-Libyan border in their motor cars. 93-year-old Rupert Harding Newman was the photographer among them.
Dang.
I suppose, in a way, my interest in the desert started when I went outside Cairo in my Austin 7 and got stuck. And I realised then, you know, the joys of the desert and the fact, the wonderful scenery and the complete silence. And I loved it.
That's gotta be that's a special job. Like, if you're just a filmmaker for military, you walk around no weapons, like you're risking your life. That's crazy. I bet you their adrenaline be going crazy too. And you can't fight back because you gotta film everything while it's happening. And I'm pretty sure this is the film crank at this time. It's not GoPro, it ain't handheld, right? It's just setting the tripod up. You know what I mean? Crazy.
Youthful Harding Newman was keen to see how far they could go into the deep desert. An expedition was planned, to be led by Major Ralph Bagnold, an intrepid explorer and an expert on the formation of sand dunes. They didn't know where they were going or what they would find. In autumn 1932, they set off into the unknown.
We knew we were going places where no one had been for a good many thousand years. All the maps covering the area, and most of them had nothing on them at all. We had A model falls. To save weight, they had no mud guards on the front and no monitors, you see. And the way those things moved is quite extraordinary. And how they stood, the punishment we gave them.
In 3 months,
those cars are trash, bro. Dang, they had to push it up a hill in 150-degree weather. Bruh, I'd be like, nah, I'm the driver. Like, I'll be sitting down. That's tough. So it must have been the Americans then that probably came up with like it's probably Germans too, but just like the off-road Jeeps. Like, because that would probably be way better than a normal car, right?
They covered 6,000 miles. When war came to the Middle East, the intrepid Bagnold wanted to put this experience to good use. He wanted to form patrols, which would follow his routes through the desert and pass undetected into Italian-held Libya. It was vital to monitor Italian troop movements there because in Cairo, it was feared the Italians outnumbered the British 10-1. Bagnold put his plan before the Commander-in-Chief, General Wavell.
Wavell said, yes, this is the thing, and he gave him a chit to all departments in the army: give this man, Major Bagnold, anything he wants at once. And that was how it all started up.
History Hit is a streaming platform that is just for...
So he said the commander-in-chief, you know, obviously in the USA, our commander-in-chief is our president, right? He's the biggest shot caller, does all that. So the UK at this time, their general could just call shots like that? Like, he doesn't have to console your guys' prime minister? Like, he's the commander-in-chief, so his word's law, basically? Let me know in the comments.
The history fan.
Tough and resourceful. His first recruits came from a green and mountainous island, a far cry from the desert, New Zealand.
Wow.
I didn't have any great patriotic feelings of fighting for king and country. I wanted some adventure. And I thought that's the cheapest way I can get overseas. It's as simple as that. Never thought about what might happen and might not happen. Just my chance to go overseas.
Wow.
Quite a lot of us Kiwis. They were farmers and sheep farmers, and I was a fisherman. Oh, you name it. Bushmen, foresters, you know, outdoor types. Something broke down in civilian life, they fixed it. And if they didn't know how to fix it, they learnt on the job to fix it.
I was asked would I volunteer for a special mission. For those days I'd volunteer for anything different, you know. I was 22 at the time. You will have to get 2 vehicles and prepare them for a trip which could involve cross-country travel of about 3,000 miles. That was the brief.
Whoa. 3,000 miles. That's crazy. Wow, that's like basically driving from where I'm from, Portland, Oregon, or the very beach of Oregon, you know, where the Pacific Ocean is, drive straight cross country up into Maine or something like that, or Florida. Like that's like the distance they're about to cover in raggedy ass cars that they had in the 40s, and they're gonna be walking too. It takes a certain type of people, man.
All labels had to be removed from cans. Nothing that would indicate that they were of any other origin than Italian.
They were going into Libya to see if the Italians were gathering for an attack.
You couldn't travel after, say, about 9 o'clock in the morning. The air temperature was such that the engines would boil all the time. The petrol would vaporize in the pipelines. That's how hot it was. You wouldn't believe it. Terrible bloody place.
Damn.
Actually, we covered 1,600 miles in 10 days of travel. Of course, we were sworn to absolute secrecy. We were not allowed to discuss where we'd been to anyone.
The patrol had gone right into the heart of enemy territory and returned with good intelligence unscathed. The Long Range Desert Group, or LRDG, had accomplished its first mission. Bagnold was soon authorized to recruit more men, but he only wanted a certain kind of man.
This officer came round, and one of the things he asked me was, oh, what are your hobbies? I said, I used to breed budgerigars. Oh, he said, you'll do for me. And that was it. I thought, hey, I'm going to be in charge of a pigeon loft.
Okay, so I'm assuming this is kind of like the creation. This is probably like the creation of the SAS, right? Because it's not a thing yet, maybe? Huh.
When Bagnall said, right, I'm looking for people who can live together under adverse conditions in close proximity over long periods of time, well, he wasn't looking for bruisers or thugs or anything like that. He was looking for people who were ordinary people who could do this sort of thing.
It was great. It was what I was meant to do. I always loved the desert. You know, it had a beauty all of its own. It was almost like a person, the desert, with the changing moods, the changing light.
That just looks awful.
We're off.
If you got onto a really hard bit of going, you kept your knees on on the wheel like that, and you could roll your cigarettes. And then to amuse ourselves, we used to try and roll with one hand like the cowboys, you know. That wasn't so easy. I tried it the other day and it wasn't so easy, but it is possible.
That's crazy, man. So they're just driving on the terrain. They're unscathed, right? They haven't been in any combat whatsoever. Driving on the, you know, with their knees and rolling their little cigarettes, right? They've seen cowboy movies or heard about them, like, you know, in the West, in America. They're trying to roll it with one hand. That's crazy. It's you know, to think like what they did back in the day to entertain themselves, amuse themselves it's interesting, because obviously nowadays it's a lot different. All our soldiers would do today is just go on TikTok or do some stupid video or some pranks, you know what I'm saying?
Especially when there's nothing else to do but drive across the hard desert. That was a great thing in the LRDG. No sergeant majors to tell you what to do, when to do it. It was self-discipline, that was the great thing.
Drivers like Archie Gibson would take out small patrols of 3 or 4 vehicles. They would cover thousands of miles and stay out for up to a month at a time, gathering intelligence on enemy movements.
Man. Makes you wonder what the gas mileage was on those things, right? Like, unless they're just loaded up, like, to the max with gas.
They were so successful at evading capture, the Italians called them the ghost patrols.
The most valuable thing I think the LRDG did was a thing called the road watch. You drove to a position where you could camouflage the trucks maybe a mile, 2 miles from the road.
2 of you would go down at dusk. You'd have a water bottle, tin of bully beef, and a packet of biscuits. And you could either take a rifle or a revolver. Nothing was going to be much good in any case. And you had binoculars as well, and a notebook. And you got as near to the road as you could. And then you lay and watched. And then everything was marked down that you saw.
This is the only film of the LRDG in action, shot by one of the New Zealand patrols.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, this is probably the creation of the SAS. Like, these dudes are like recon, like they're super secret, discreet, you know, surveying for days at a time, right? Months at a time, apparently. That's crazy. And this is actual footage.
Well, it was all day, every second day. You get to do it for about a fortnight, and then you'll be relieved, because you couldn't stand more than a fortnight. It was so bloody nerve-wracking.
It was pretty hard. Hot, dusty, painful, boring. Sand would blow in your face, and in the winter it was bloody cold. The best part was the walk back to the trucks, where you got the circulation going.
The long-range desert group had to be entirely self-sufficient to survive behind enemy lines. They took food and fuel with them, but water was always in short supply.
You didn't speak much during the day when you were driving, because you lost too much moisture from your mouth. Oh yes, that's the thing you've got to do. Keep that mouth shut.
Yeah, that's one of the things, like, I didn't really think about. Like, it's how dusty that is. Your mouth is sticky, bro. Your tongue's white. Like, that would suck, for real. And you have to, you know, conserve it. Like, you don't even want to talk to your friend, because, or your teammate because your mouth will dry up. Yeah, that's tough. In the hot summer days, you have to drink water.
Water, the truck had first go at it, and your meals had second, and your water bottle came third, and washing went by the board.
You didn't wash, shave, didn't he? Oh, some of the fancy jokers cleaned their teeth. I never bothered. No, you go for 11 weeks. We went for 11 weeks one time. Never had a wash.
Look how dirty they are.
Like the Navy, the long-range desert group was given a rum ration and lime to ward off scurvy.
What you are seeing now are the ingredients for an anti-malarial desert pick-me-up. Your tot of rum, the queen, you pour it in the water, and then some powdered lime, and then you put it on the back wheel of your truck and let the cool desert air blow over it, and you finish it with a nice cool rum and lime drink.
That's interesting.
Sheer survival was one problem. Finding your way in a desert devoid of landmarks was another. Skill and instruments developed during the pre-war expeditions were to prove invaluable. Veteran navigator Mike Sadler, back in the desert for the first time in 60 years, remembers the magic of it all.
I was rather intrigued by the fact that in these vast empty spaces you could actually travel and get to the place you were looking for at the end of the day. I think there's quite a knack attached to it. Some people said it was more of an art than a science, because you can't in fact travel in straight lines. There's dunes and gullies and waddies. There's a tremendous amount of estimating attached to it.
Yeah, it probably felt like forever, guys. Like it probably felt like you're just walking all day, driving all day. Then you have to get out your car, push the truck up the hill, go down the dune. Time to go back up the dune. So we gotta push it again. Like it's probably just grueling and just it takes a lot of mental toughness.
The golden rule really is to trust your instruments and trust your calculations. And then you don't normally get lost.
At night, navigators took readings from the stars using a theodolite, like a ship's sextant, to plot their exact position. When driving during the day, an ordinary compass would be thrown by magnetism from the vehicle. So they turned instead to a Ralph Bagnall innovation, the sun compass.
You can set the direction you wish to go in, and the driver then has to just drive his vehicle in such a way that the shadow from the pin falls on the arrow, which is pointing in the direction that you want to go.
Compass.
Because the sun's moving round, you would gradually drift off course as the shadow follows the sun. So it's necessary to keep resetting the information on the side of the compass so that the compass continues to register a true bearing.
Wow.
Driving into the deep desert brought with it a special form of jeopardy. So far behind the lines, patrols were susceptible to attack not just from the enemy.
That's where the RAF were hunting stuff, you see. So if they saw stuff moving, they assumed that it was enemy.
I had some hellish times with aircraft where they singled out one truck. That was very frightening. Sweating hands on the wheel and seeing the bullets puffing up the sand. And then he dropped bombs which lifted the rear of the truck sort of rose up with the blast.
Oh, here we go. We're about getting some action. It's been, you know, cool so far, but now it seems like the aircraft saw them driving, so they're just gonna bomb it just cause, right? The Italians. Whoa, man, this is crazy.
I hated aircraft. I hated the sound of them.
The long-range desert group brought back a steady flow of high-grade information for British military headquarters. They were masters of their terrain. But their subtle and discreet methods were about to be disrupted by the arrival of a much more aggressive group bent on making a lot more noise.
Commandos.
In spring 1941, the British faced a new threat in North Africa. The Germans arrived.
Oh, that sucks, right? Oh, forgot about the Nazis. They're in this fight too, supporting them. They obviously Germany. They're strong, right? You're not gonna try taking over the world basically if you're not a strong force. So it's gonna be. Oh man, I thought he was gonna say like some commandos for the British, but it looks like commandos for the Germans.
More drastic measures were called for, and one young officer thought he had the answer. David Stirling had a daring plan, which involved surprise parachute raids and a group of men as crazy as he was. He was to become one of the most famous raiders of all time. But in the beginning, both he and his plan lacked credibility.
By the powers that be, he was known as rather an idle officer. But he was a man of great charm, actually. He was a very amusing companion.
He wanted to form a small unit that would get behind enemy lines and destroy any valuable installations, aircraft, ammunition dumps, petrol dumps, even water supplies.
He was sure that the 4 or 5 man team, getting behind the lines, properly equipped and expert in what they were doing, would create more havoc.
Wow, yeah, no, this is what it is now, right? The little special forces squads are probably 6 max, maybe 8 tops, right? Like small units, deep in enemy lines, getting the job done.
And a couple of
special forces
charging up the desert.
He was obviously very enthusiastic about the idea, and you know, one heard all this before, and we didn't actually credit him that he might get it off the ground.
Stirling bluffed his way into military headquarters in Cairo and slipped into the office of the Deputy Chief of Staff, General Ritchie, with an outline of his plan.
General Ritchie just read it. He was only a lieutenant, don't forget. Very junior rank. And he said, yes, we'll give you a chance. You can have 50-odd men. That's how it all started.
Whoa, got approved.
Having got his men, he needed a camp worthy of his ambition. But there was little on offer.
There was a stretch of desert sand about 500 yards by 500 yards, and that was our camp. Well, there was one tent for ammunition and for food and for our arms, everything, but nothing else.
Dirty tricks were called for, and if the nearest victims happened to be Kiwis, too bad.
That night, we motored down the road towards Geneva, and the New Zealand division camp was almost empty because the New Zealanders were all in action up in the desert.
They gonna steal the New Zealanders' tents and stuff, man. That's crazy. While they're all fighting. Dang. They're gonna be pissed.
and we went in and we just collapsed their tents, and we nicked 16, I think it was.
Oh, they stole everything. And then the finish up, we went into the local cinema, which was more or less an army cinema, and we stole all the easy chairs, which was officers' easy chairs, and took them all back. And so that next day we erected these tents, and it worked out 4 men to a tent plus an easy chair, right? And we had the finest camp in the whole of the Middle East. And after that there were thieves all their days.
Now they had a camp, they needed a name. They were called L Detachment of the Special Air Service Brigade. A grand title for just 60 men and 6 officers.
L.
SAS was born.
I knew it. I knew it, man. That's crazy. It all started like the special forces groups, man. The pioneers of the best.
L Detachment, SAS Brigade. We often wondered about that. And the only answer we could come up with, well, it could fool the Germans. If we've got L Detachment, what about A, B, C and whatever right down to L? Where are they? You know. And of course L, a lot of the chaps used to say, well, L for learner. That's what we're doing.
That's cool.
David Sterling organised makeshift parachute training in the desert. But many in the military doubted whether such a unit could ever penetrate German airfield defences. Undeterred, Sterling decided to launch a surprise attack on an airfield, reaching it not by air, but on foot. It lay 100 miles to the north, a test for the stamina of his men.
The idea was to see how determined we could be. We had 2 water bottles each, and a pound of dates, and some sweets to suck. And it took 3 nights to do the 100 miles.
Oh, shoot. They walked 100 miles, guys. This is about to be crazy, man. That's going to be it for part 1. Part 2 will be dropping shortly. Put in the comment sections when you guys want it to be dropped, right? And let me know your guys' thoughts and feelings on this. I feel like this is about to get super good. Like, they're about to get into the fight, the moment we all be waiting for in part 2. If you guys enjoyed it, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.